In a world where power and education collide, in a nation where children of color will soon be the majority, in a city where our students are begging for change, one program dares to be that staple, that glue, that masking tape, that paperclip that this district needs. That program is Teach Tomorrow in Oakland.
Hello everyone, and I'm Teresa Jeffrey Clark. I was part of Cohort number 2 for Teach Tomorrow Oakland.
Sabrina Bree Moore, 6th grade humanities, Cohort 2.
My name's Sarah, and I'm part of Cohort 2.
My name is Tonisha Webb. I'm in Cohort 2.
My name is Janetta Costa.
My name is Pablo Pitcher de Proto.
My name is Derek Boyd.
My name is Michael Solomon.
I'm Pamela Ascension.
Really, Prince? Go to the couch. Actually, go to your table and put your head down. Hi, I'm Dana. I'm Cohort 2, Teach Tomorrow Oakland. This is my 5th year teaching.
And my favorite classroom procedure, I should have thought about that beforehand. This year, I have a very active group of students, and we do a little dance right before we do math facts. And so they have to pat their head, rub their belly, and then they do the math fact dance, and they go, math facts, math facts, math facts, math facts, math facts, math facts. So it's probably one of my favorite procedures because every kid does it.
My favorite procedure would probably be my lining up procedure, which Carolyn Yee taught me. It's a check-off list where we line up and then we check off how we are in line. So the first thing would be in line, and if you are, you say check. Eyes forward, check. Feet forward, check. Arm out, check. And then your mouth closed, and then they'll just put a thumbs up because if your mouth's closed, you can't say check.
A classroom procedure that I do with my kids, we review our classroom norms every morning, and then they select one of them that they're going to focus on for the week, and they write that in their journal. And they also write why they're focusing on that one and what difference that would make to them personally and to the classroom. Our norms are, we are always safe, we treat everyone with respect and kindness, we use kind words, we manage problems productively. I can't remember the other one. But if we all stepped into those norms, then it would be an awesome learning environment. So this is getting the kids to be reflective about themselves in a learning environment and what they can do to help a learning environment be more successful.
My favorite classroom procedure is having students explain their own reasoning, specifically for the warm-up or the starter or the do now, because they get an opportunity to share what they know and be teachers for the class, and it takes the power out of my hands and really puts it in theirs.
My favorite procedure is the call and response after there's a presentation with my students. I would have to say, give him a cheer, so they would do a cheer that goes like this. Yeah, that's my favorite procedure.
Well, as I teach my kids, science is everything, and everything is science. So I therefore love everything about science, but specifically, like the kids, I like the chemical reactions, the explosions, fire, bubbles, and anything like that.
I'm a teacher because I was born to be a teacher, and I don't think that everybody is born to be a teacher. I think that some people can be made into teachers, but that doesn't negate the fact that I pretty much know that I was born to be a teacher.
I want to quote Confucius, who said that if you find a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So I haven't worked for the last 5 years.
But as a kid, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I really loved everything about teaching. And then it came up, it's like, hey, why don't I just try that?
Yeah, I teach because it's rewarding. I'm selfish. and I enjoy it, and I'm good at it. So yeah.
I'm actually very good at it, highly effective. One of the best teachers that I know. And when you're good at something and you love it and it's your passion and it's at your core, you should probably be doing that. So that's pretty much it.
I went to Holy Names for a credential, and then I got a job at as a intervention specialist, and that kind of solidified that I definitely wanted to become a teacher and develop that.
Well, I always knew I'd teach in Oakland. There was no question to that. I don't think like the kids need me and all that savior stuff, but I know that this is where I should be.
I really wanted to make a difference in the community where I live, and so that's why I think teaching in Oakland was really important to me initially.
I live in Oakland. I've been in Oakland for 20 years, left Chicago when I was 19, barely go back. This is home.
The vivid memory of me dreaming about it, becoming a teacher was when I was 8 years old. My mom bought me this little blackboard and some chalk, and I would have my neighbor friends would come, and I would pretend to be a teacher and they would pretend to be the students, and we would go through math and science and spelling and things like that. So ever since I could remember, there was nothing else that I would rather be but to become a teacher.
I have wanted to do this and felt the need to do this since I was 9 here growing up in Oakland.
I'm originally from the south side of Chicago. I had, if you know anything about the Chicago public schools, very unique experience of growing up in schools where I was a minority. My high school was, I think it's 89% African American. There weren't a lot of white kids. There weren't a lot of anything besides African American. So that seemed to be the world. That's how I understood things, and I didn't actually quite understand until I moved out and went to college and that stuff, that a lot of other schools, most of the time, the white is the majority.
My school experience was horrific. I grew up in Oakland. I went to schools in Oakland. As a student, I couldn't read. Literally, I could not decode words until I was in the 5th grade. I have a learning disability that sometimes limits the amount of patience I have with sitting still and not being challenged, because I'm extremely intelligent. It's hard for students who are extremely intelligent and bored, who also have behavior challenges, to communicate, hi, by the way, you should probably be doing more as a teacher and not sending me out of the classroom, but that was my experience. So I did know the office staff really well, and I knew my administrators really well, and I knew all the parents who would come get their kids really well. I don't remember any of my teachers.
All of my teachers were old. My elementary school experience was not wonderful. I had some really mean teachers who were not, I feel like I didn't learn some things along the way in K6. I still do math on my fingers now. I think that my high school experience really helped shape me to want to be a teacher. So I graduated from Oakland High. Go Wildcats, class of 2002. So it's very difficult for me working at Skyline, because I'm like, I'm a Wildcat, I'm not a Titan. I was the best. I was a great student. I did all my work, and I got all A's, and I was in leadership, and I was president of my high school my senior year. I was that kid. 10th grade was a little rough in there. I had a little boyfriend that got a little rough. Had to go to summer school that summer. Books, not boys. I did what I was supposed to do, and all of my teachers were really proud of me, and they challenged me. I always got extra work. I was very, very vocal, very boisterous. A lot like I am now. I was just a younger version of Tonisha today. So yeah, high school was fun. It was a good time. Major success story.
There's a few things I probably can't say.
I don't know. But what's defined as success? Give me an example of someone else's. All kids are successful in my class. Okay, I got it.
It doesn't have to be major. It could
Right,
be-
I'm like trying to.
Can I talk about a coworker? As we know, kids hate math. And this is my 5th year, and so for 4 years, I've always had kids getting sent out of the math class across the hall just every single day. They march in, I hate math, I hate the teacher, I hate math, I hate the teacher, and I've worked really hard over the last 2 years with the math teacher across the hall from me. And this is the first year in my 5 years where I've seen a complete turnaround. Kids are not getting sent out of math class. Kids come to my room talking about they love math. Her whole attitude has changed, and this is my first year where when I was talking about grades with her, she had no students failing at math. And I think that's really big, especially because kids are they're so challenged when it comes to good math education.
One of my students does not like to do schoolwork and just will sit there all day. And so what I basically say is that's not an option. Sitting in my class doing nothing is not an option. If you have to go get a piece of paper and write your alphabets front and back, you need to do something in my class. But you can't just sit here. She went out and went to the bathroom and called her mom. And her dad comes storming into the room and, "Are you Miss Clark?" I said, "Yes, I am." "Well, I got this phone call that you're harassing my daughter." So I assured him, I said, "No, I assure you I haven't been harassing your daughter, but please come in and pull up a seat." And my coworker we were having lunch, and my coworker was sitting across from me, eyes really like, "Oh my God, what's getting ready to happen here?" But after he sat down and I didn't show fear of him, and he was pretty revved up, and explained to him, "First of all, let me tell you exactly what I told your daughter before she called you." And he said, "Well, no, she didn't call, her mom did." So I explained to him, "This is what's been going on. This is what I told your daughter." And then he was thanking me. He said he would take care of it. He understood now exactly what was going on. And his daughter literally changed her whole behavior, well, most of her behavior, as a result of that particular exchange.
So I have a student that when he got to us, he was in 9th grade, but he was 16. IEP student, tall, black male, no dad, all that, the whole profile. And he did not have dreams of college at all. And it's like, men I see, they go to jail, they're doing drugs, they're trying to hoop, but they fail at hooping, And we stuck with him, and he had some hard moments, and he saw a lot of things happen with his mom throughout his time here. And at the beginning of his junior year, he sent me this text message that said, "Happy New Year. You're a real big influence on my life. I want to get A's in your class. You're really a father figure for me, and I appreciate you for that." And I'd been hard on him so much all the time, just because he kept slacking and then kind of falling back on this excuse that's worked for him for so long. And now he's about to graduate and go on to SF State and do his thing, which was not, a foreseen possibility for him 4 years ago. So that was really big. That's really big for me. He's about to graduate in a month and a half. And a lot of kids like that. A lot of students that come in, I'm terrible at math, and now they're doing STEM camps over the summer. They're doing Smash Academy at Cal and Stanford. These kids that stereotypically aren't amazing, but they are. You just got to kind of dig in and find it. Yeah, that's one of the big ones. Yeah.
Growing up, you can actually hear the pin drop while the teacher is teaching. Here, it's not quite like that. So that for me, that's an adjustment.
The first year, it was a challenging year. I had children that were placed in my classroom. I'll never forget Dr. Connie telling me, "You have received children that should never have been given to a first-year teacher." But that's what I received.
What comes first is how you're connecting with the kids. And I think that's the most important thing. If you don't connect with the kids, it doesn't matter what you bring to the classroom. They're not going to accept it, or they're just not going to engage. And
We have a lot of teachers in urban schools who should not be here, who cannot connect with the children, who don't understand the children.
There are a lot of mainstream Americans in our communities, and there's a lot of burnout because of the cultural differences on both sides. Our students are flabbergasted and burned out. Our teachers that do not really have that stake, they're not true stakeholders sometimes, but that's not all of the issue. The issue is really understanding the culture and the culture sensitivities.
So my first year when I was consolidated and I moved to Reach Academy, there was a group of students who just had 9 subs and 4 teachers that year, and it was October, and nobody had stuck with them. And I guess every year since kindergarten, this cohort had moved together, and every year teachers had left and come and left and come, and it's just like, are you going to stay? So the teacher right before me got a headache and then never came back. So for weeks and weeks, they kept saying, do you have a headache? Do you have a headache? And I was like, do you have a headache? They were crazy, and they were cussing, and they're 9. And it was just like, beep, boop, 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 boop. It was like watching HBO, and they're 9. And then the next day, right, I literally, I probably shouldn't say this on camera, like I literally covered the window to the door because I was like, I have to have a conversation with them. They have to know that this is my classroom, because the principal said, do you want me to come in and talk to them? And I was like, listen, you can't come in here and talk to them. I'm from Oakland. We from Oakland. We gonna have some understandings around here. Oh, it was going down. I got my I got my best pair of Jordans. I put them on. Because the first day I was like, all professional looking. Yeah, nope. Covered the door, close it. They talking and doing all they do. And I just was like, hello! Really, as loud as I possibly can. And they didn't stop. So then I had to take it to the streets a little bit, right? And had to become Bree. Like, I'm like, listen, you're not the only one from Oakland. I'm from Oakland, and I tell them my story. And I'm like, my mama smoked crack my whole life. She died. She got shot 17 times. I'm giving them the whole rundown. They're like, yo, mama didn't. She not alive. So they started asking me questions, and it was just like this instant, wait, this black lady is from Oakland, and her mom was on crack, and her dad went to jail, and her mom got shot and murdered, and these were students that mirrored me, right? And their experience mirrored mine. And they weren't low, right? And couldn't read and had all of these crazy circumstances that surrounded their lives. But at that moment, we all met on a level playing field.
So it is our job as educators now to give our children a choice, not to have to follow in the footsteps of people whom they love. Please love your fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, aunties that are in prison. You can't tell a child not to love them. So you can't speak of their people that are in prison in a very condescending way. You have to say, by all means, love them, but by extra all means, don't become them.
It's not a pretty road to tell a student that's, been told by a bunch of people, oh, your life is so hard. I understand why you can't do X, Y, and Z. It's not easy to tell that student, I get all those things are happening. You still got to, get your stuff done, though. Because in order for any of this to change, you got to, do some hard stuff and, work with it and put in the time. It's not a show. It's not an act. It's not a teaching strategy, really. It's myself, and I can bring myself for all the kids really easily.
5 years ago, I thought, oh, I love this class the most, and I'll never love any of them as much as them. But every year, I get a whole new batch, and somehow love them just as much as the last group. Do you guys love school? Yeah! What do you think about me? Am I super serious or super silly, crazy? What's your teacher like? Crazy. Do we have fun? Yeah! You like to have fun? Yeah! What did you learn this year? What?
I think it should be 10 years, right? Because now I'm at 5 years and I don't know. Oakland? I probably shouldn't say that on camera.
First of all, you really do not know how to teach when your first couple of years.
5 years lets you know who's real and who's not.
And so I walked in and I was like, all right, I'm going to change the whole education. I'm going to have this cool classroom. It's going to be laid back. We're not going to have any structure. We're not going to have any routines. The kids are going to love it. We're going to play, we're going to learn, and they're going to have this great time, and everything's going to work. And that worked for the first 6 weeks.
I was big on I want to be the fun teacher. I want to be a teacher that doesn't bore students. I want to be the one that does all these real world things and uses basketball examples and all that. But the big hurdle that they have to get through, the SATs, the GREs, the KC, all this stuff, doesn't do any of that. And it's a disservice to kind of say, I want to be the fun guy. I want to be the after school program dude that's also their math teacher. That's not real.
So I don't think you could do it in less than 5 years. There's so many elements and components that you must understand.
Well, I think people come to Oakland to get their feet wet and then they go somewhere else. It's kind of bothersome because we get teachers in and out and in and out. You know, Teach for America, 2 years they're out, they're a principal, they barely have any experience. I think 5 years you really get to know where you're working and what you're doing. And a lot of people can't hang, a lot of people leave.
2 years is really short. 2 years, I can do anything in 2 years. There's shoes I haven't had for 2 years. 2 years is a long time. And I think 5 years shows like you're invested, that you really want to lay roots down, that you want to be part of kids' lives for a long time.
Teachers who come in and we're like, they could do this, and then they leave after 2 years because it's just so hard. And it's just so hard, right? My first year I got fired and surplused and then my second year my school closed, and my third, it's hard. But when you get to 4.6 and you're in that moment, like in your classroom, and you're teaching and the kids are like moving and they don't need you, but you're there and you're helping like the small group, and every teacher move you've ever seen on a video comes out in you, and it's like this crazy experience of, it's almost like you come out of your body and you just see yourself become a teacher. It's magical. As an instructor, what I bring is authenticity.
My honesty is something that I bring to the table that sometimes teachers are fearful of letting just who they are come into their classroom. But everything about my classroom is me, and so I don't hide that from them.
My kids love me, but there's structure and routine, and they know that I am there for them, but that if they step out of line, I'm going to make sure to call them on it.
Again, I am a stakeholder. I want the black race, the Latino children, all of our minority children to have a place in our society and not to be imprisoned. And that brings me back to, if I just flash this, I don't know if you can see this, but this is the school to prison pipeline. I have been preaching this before my 5 years of becoming a teacher, that we have to stop this. And the only way to do that is to give our children other skills.
If systems are created, think about an input-output machine. If systems are created to get the outcome that they always get, right? Like a system is created, and in goes something and out comes something. And if the out that always comes out is a negative output, right? It's negative. It's disproportionate discipline, and it's unfair systems and unfair circumstances for young people, and it's horrible teaching practices, and it's like in comes these wonderful minds and these little people who can be molded, and out comes dropout rates that are just staggering, and chaos that just all of these horrible poisonous things that happen to young people, because in they go and out they come out of our system. The question that I'm asking myself is, then when do we change the system?
I had at least one student in the class who had special needs, and he was repeating the third grade, and he didn't find out till the first day of school that he was repeating the third grade. So you can imagine the emotions that came through, the tears. I'll never forget one of the times he needed to stay in at lunch recess because we needed to talk about what had happened during the classroom and kind of process through that together. And when I asked this child a little bit about himself as a learner and asked him to acknowledge that he knew that he was smart, he put his head down and shook his head and said, I said, you know you're smart. And he went, no. And I said, you're smart. The challenge is that we need to figure out how to teach you and how you learn.
I make life choices based on how will I know this math. Is this math real to me? How can I apply it in every day, right? When I go to the store, right, everybody want to give you that store scenario. Go to the store and you buy chips and is that real? Because that's not real. When I go to the corner and there's D-boys out there and they doing what they do and they making real money, and I know that we at home struggling, my mama sending us to the store with 25 cents, we trying to figure out how we going to get chips all together, and we got to split the bag, and my sister only want to give me 4 chips. That's when we talk about why does math make sense.
The first would be to really, really know your content.
Step back, make sure you're on top of your planning.
Don't take anything personally. Don't take anything personally. Don't take what the kids say to you personally. Don't take what the adults say to you personally. And although we're humans, so we take things personally, sometimes you just have to take it in, take a deep breath, and move on. Because in the long run, it's really not going to make much of a difference.
Build a curriculum or your instructional schedule so that you can plug in your interest as well, because when you're excited, your students will be excited.
I think for me, teachers should ask a question. Like get a question. Why teach, right? What a beautiful question. Why teach? It's just, you should be asking yourself questions, and you should be reflective, and you should be thinking about your practice, and you should think, and always remember, why are you here? Why are you here? And if the answer to that question is not something that's connected to children, and children are not first, and that outcome is not always at the forefront of your brain, and how you plan, and how you read, and how you learn, and how you teach, then get out, because we don't want you here. And I don't hate to say it, I mean it. Get out. Just get out, because we don't want you here. And our kids don't need you. They need somebody who wants to be the staples, right? They need that. They need that. They need interruption. They need us to do something different. They need that. I need that. If I died tomorrow, I would be okay with it, because I want to die doing this work and doing it real for this community, for our kids. That's how much it means to me. That's how much it means to me. Like, that we interrupt the system, that we move in ways that change things for kids, and that we stop always thinking about ourselves. You came into this work for a purpose, then why teach? And why not interrupt? Why not be the difference? Why? Sorry.